Hey everyone, this is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. I'm your host, Ron Fitch. Normally I would lead with the recap of the weekend, but I have to talk about this John Gruden situation. He resigned from the Las Vegas Raiders, and I want to share my opinion because of the emails that came from 2011 about DeMaurice Smith. And then I just learned today about the different things that he said about the gay people and women, and there's just a lot of stuff. This is what I feel. It was idiotic emails, unpolitically correct emails that got leaked out, and he resigned over that. This is my issue. Why didn't this get reported in 2011? Why didn't this get reported immediately? Why didn't ESPN respond in 2011? Why didn't this get reported in 2018 before he took the job with the Raiders? Why is this now? Somebody has an axe to grind. Now, listen, I don't have no sympathy for John Gruden on this situation because you're a NFL coach or a broadcaster on ESPN. You're sending emails. You got to understand, regardless of, because locker room talk is locker room talk. I had friends that talked like this and friends that didn't. And I loved them the same. It was just the fact that it was private. Now, the fact that this got leaked out, somebody was out to get him, because I know there's a lot of people and coaches that feel different ways about the anthem and different opinions about social issues, different opinion about women officials. Now, I'll challenge him on the one thing he said about, there shouldn't be women officials. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. If you could do the job, do the job. I'm always performance-based. They said, what's your political affiliation? I said, none. I don't care about those idiots in the Democratic and Republican Party. No, I ain't got to be nothing. I'm just going to be a child of God. So don't tell me what I got to be, okay? And that's one thing. You do not tell me what to do if you're a grown man. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I say I'm performance-based. Did they perform? Did you do the job? Did you lower taxes? Did you increase the ability for small businesses to grow? Did you not overreach in your situation as a government officials and try to get into people's business? If you did that, if you didn't do that, I'll definitely vote for you. If you do what you're supposed to do and you take care of the people, you get in. That's just like a coach. You do your job, that's fine. But there's people with hidden agendas, and they pulled Gruden's card and they were out to get him, and they got him. And listen, he got himself too by putting this stuff out here. But one thing I do not like is the Walt Disney Channel fake civil rights activists that reacted. I'm not going to cry over what happened and how he emailed. I'm going to say, well, it was idiotic, and I'm going to keep it moving. You know why? Because I'm a black alpha male, and I care about real issues, not symbolisms and slogans and fist pumps. I care about education. A shout out to Kwame Brown and Carasino for Life. Those guys that are on YouTube that talk about real issues in my community, dealing with the violence and education and real change that you won't see on the Walt Disney Channel, because they have no interest in that. They like the problem. They like to talk about the problem because that's good copy. That's how they feel. But I'm calling all the Walt Disney activists out, even the one that used to play for my football team, out. It's fakers. That's fake, what you see on TV. That's why I couldn't be on there. That's why my show is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. The truth is, John Gruden resigned, but there's a lot more people that say what he felt, good or bad, however side of the aisle you're on. But he was singled out. And I despise cancel culture. I really do. And it's not politically correct. So it's not going to be like, well, I'm not liking these things you're saying. Okay, that's how I feel. I believe in right and wrong. I don't believe in left and right. I believe in right and wrong. And I was raised correctly. So that's the difference. But this cancel culture is ridiculous and it's out of control. And the people who are doing the counseling are flagrant hypocrites. Flagrant hypocrites. They'll say one thing on TV and do the opposite and live any kind of way. I'm not that type of guy. I just believe in what I believe in, and I'm flawed. And shoot, 2011, I don't know what I was saying. What if they go back and discover emails in your closet, or if that's what they're doing? Now, like I said, it was idiotic what he said, and he lost his job. Okay, goodbye. I'm not gonna cry over that either. But we're not in a good place as far as selective cancel culture. I don't like him. So I remember that in 2018, he said stuff. Let me leak it. And then I said, okay, he said that. And I didn't like we said about DeMaurice Smith. Of course, that is a touchy, even if it wasn't racial, it's a touchy subject from the years and years ago where they used to write and do characterizations of Black people with big, giant, crazy looking gorilla looking lips and all that stuff. And stuff they did to Jack Johnson was terrible. But the people that vouch for him are people of character. So I'm thinking, I don't think he is racist. If Tim Brown and Tony Dungy, men of character, that's been with him, say that he wasn't. But the idiotic talk is what cost him. You could be an idiot and not be a racist. And that's what cost him. But I'm very uncool with cancel culture. I just wonder, because I'm going to be on 9:30 a.m. in New York City, and it's going to be tell the truth. And I wonder how this works out, because I'm not 100% obedient to political correctness, and obedience in this political correct world is demanded, except for the people who are doing the demanding. They can do anything they want. But the people who are in the middle class and you're not where Dave Chappelle is, where he can say whatever he wants, which I love. But when you're not in that lane, obedience is demanded. Complete and perfect obedience is demanded. And it's not possible. Compliance. It's not really the political party, is compliance. You either comply or don't comply to what the scale is set by the powers that be. And that's the problem. If you have a differing opinion, shame on you. You're this, you're that name, you're that name. I cannot stand name calling. I can't stand coon calling, because who's the czar that decides who's the coon and who's Black enough? Who's the high exalted person that decides that? That's ridiculous. I live my life as a proud Black man, proud of my color, but I love God first. And I could care less what anybody thinks about that. It's a shame I got to deviate from talking sports to go there, but I had to go there. And listen, beware of the wolves in sheep clothing that work for the Walt Disney Channel, the Walt Disney civil rights activists. Hey, everyone. This is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. I'm your host, Ron Fitch. What's going on, everybody? Well, let's talk about the NFL. I'm going to talk about the NFL, and then we'll address the John Gruden situation. The headlines just flashed that he was fired, so I'm going to address that and tell you the real truth about that. This is the real truth about what went on with Buffalo and Kansas City, because there are 3 games I want to just focus on that happened last weekend. The Bills beat up on Kansas City, beat them up, showed you how good they were. And I told you they're really good. They won 38-20, and it was Josh Allen who was just fantastic. 15 of 26, 315 yards, 59 yards rushing, and they run him in between the tackles because he's big and strong. Now, I'm concerned that he could get hurt and this season could go off the rails, one bad injury. But they do have Moss and Singletary running. They run enough. But what I'm noticing is this combination of Dawson Knox and Allen. And Allen threw a touchdown pass to Dawson Knox. It was a thing of beauty. He was on the run. It was gorgeous. And the Bills are humming. And the difference between the Bills and the Chiefs right now is the Bills could stop Kansas City because they stopped them on a big 4th and 5. And Kansas City can't ever stop the Bills. And then the Bills got a pick 6. Micah Hyde, the guy, the ball hawk, special. That's his specialty. And the Bills did what they had to do, and they beat up on the Chiefs. And I said this earlier. When you get beat up in the Super Bowl, you try to come back, regardless of how good you are, there's residue. Because every team in the AFC now says, oh, we beat these guys. Look at the Chiefs. They're just not showing the Chiefs the respect. Another thing they're doing, they're daring the Chiefs to go the long route down the field. They're having their safeties make sure that Tyreek Hill doesn't beat them. They'll double him. They'll make sure he doesn't get behind them because that gets the Chiefs going. And the Chiefs like those big splash plays, and they're not happening. And it starts to get frustrating because Mahomes and Andy Reid and offensive coordinator Bama want to show off these beautiful model Hardman and Tyreek Hill and Kelsey getting down that field, 15, 20 yards, chunk plays, Hilaire getting screen passes for long yards. It's not happening. They're making them go the long route, and they're kicking field goals, and they're turning the ball over. They're fumbling the ball in the kickoff, and it's not going right for the Chiefs, and they can't stop a soul. The defense if the Chiefs make a mistake, the defense does not have the offense's back whatsoever. And then Jones was hurt, their best pass rusher. They were done. The Bills look great. They're aggressive on defense. Their offense is smooth because of how they could run with Allen, and Allen is smart. He's getting better and better and better. He's trending up. Allen and Justin Herbert are just the two best young quarterbacks in the league, period. They're both better than Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson, one thing I did learn, and I know that he'll mess up, he'll fumble, he'll throw a bad pick, but he'll keep fighting. And they come back. The Ravens had to come back. The Colts helped them. But this was an implosion by the Colts. The Ravens made a complete mess of things after it was in the second half. They were driving, and Lamar Jackson fumbles the ball. And they return the ball, and then they end up scoring. He's at the goal line. He fumbles the ball, and Darius Leonard recovers it and almost runs in the end zone, but the Colts end up scoring. But stupidly, they instead of kicking a field goal to make it 23-3, they tried 2-point conversion. Didn't like that. That was mistake number one. So Baltimore comes down and scores a TD, and they don't convert, so it's 22-9. Okay, Colts are in decent shape, but the Colts the Colts drive down the field, but they sell for field goals, 25-9, so it's still a possibility. Here comes Lamar Jackson right down the field, 5-yard touchdown. It's down 10, and they get the 2-point conversion. I'm like, oh boy, oh brother. But to the Colts' credit, they're on the verge of running out the clock. They're driving down for a very important field goal that will put them up 2 scores. The field goal gets blocked. The second the field goal gets blocked, I said this game will be tied. This is a layup for Lamar Jackson. 25-yard line from Baltimore, 75-yard drive all the way down. Lamar to Mark Andrews, his favorite target. All right. Now let's go to Mark Andrews for the 2-point conversion, and it happens. But to Baltimore's credit again, mistake number 3. So we said the first mistake on special teams. They should have went for the field goal, so the 2 for the extra point. They get the field goal block. That's mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 is they drive all the way down the field, and Blankenship misses the 47-yard field goal. Now we're going to overtime. It's a wrap. And Baltimore scores, and they end up winning. The Colts will pay for that. You don't recover from losses like that. And Baltimore, Indianapolis could have went 2-3 in a game behind the Tennessee, and they're 1-4, and that could just set them in the absolute wrong direction. Losses like that could turn into 10-game losing streaks. Wins could turn into 5-game winning streaks. And now Baltimore, I give them credit, but they are between the 66-yard field goal in this game and the Chief game, which they were on the verge of losing. They are living luckily. And you live by lucky plays, you die by lucky plays. I know that. Pittsburgh was 11-0 and very lucky last year. And they lived by lucky breaks, and toward the end, they died by them. So I don't fully trust the Ravens at 4-1. And then Cincinnati lost because they're young to the Packers. Missing the Packers, they were just trading missed field goals, and the Packers end up finally getting through. And the best game was Cleveland and San Diego. That was the best game of the day. And I'm going to tell you why Justin Herbert is so freaking great. It was 35. Now, it's 42-35. I'm going to take you there. The Browns. Fourth quarter. I'm going to tell you the greatness of Justin Herbert in his second year. Okay. On fourth, let me see. They drove down the field, and Hubert gets Eckler involved, 19-yard touchdown. Also, Eckler's a superstar. The Browns come back and score. So it's 42-42. The Browns get stopped. The Chargers drive the ball down the field and end up scoring a touchdown, Austin Eckler. And then the Browns are not able to finish the game off. But what makes Justin Herbert terrific, it was a 4th and 8 play at the Cleveland 20-yard line, and he makes a 20-yard pass to Keenan Allen. Williams and Allen and Eckler are serious. They're serious. And Justin Herbert's one of the best young quarterbacks in all of the NFL, and it showed. And I tried to put Derek Carr up there, but he had a bad game. I think Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and Carr are in the B area of quarterbacks. The A+ young, great quarterbacks is Josh Allen and Herbert. Don't be surprised if you saw the Bills and the Chargers in the AFC Championship game. The Chargers are that good. I think the Chargers are not quite there yet, but the Bills are there yet, ready to play for a Super Bowl. I don't trust the Ravens. I don't trust the Browns, because if Hunt and Chubb aren't running down your throat, which they do because they're lying and how great those running backs are, Baker Mayfield can't beat you without a great running game. Lamar Jackson has got to come from behind, because a lot of times if they stop the running game and they stop their short passing game and they don't let him scramble, Baltimore's in trouble. And he's good at coming back, but maybe that one time you try to come back and you go to well one time too often and you get eliminated in the playoffs. And that's why they get beat in the playoffs every year. But I love Buffalo and I love the Chargers. I don't love Kansas City at all. I don't think their defense is going to get any better. They usually do. They're going to make a run. I just think they're going to come up short this year. Either they don't make the playoffs, they're going to have to go on the road, and they're going to get clipped, I believe. They're going to have to maybe go to Buffalo, and Buffalo beat them again. As far as the NFC, the Cowboys and the Rams and the Cardinals. Those are the teams. They did what they had. All three of those teams did what they had to do last week. But I'm looking at the Packers. I want to see more out of the Packers. That was a good win. They're 4-1. Defensively, I'm not crazy about the Packers, because Pittsburgh made some plays on them, and Cincinnati lit them up. So I need to see more out of the Packers. And then they couldn't really stop Frisco. And Aaron Rodgers is just making up the difference how great he's freaking playing. Geez, Aaron Rodgers. I know he has one Super Bowl. He wants to get another one to validate his career. It might not be with Green Bay. It might not be with Green Bay. I mean, he's got 10 TDs and 3 interceptions, 101 QBR. He's kicking butt this year. Was Dallas is they beat a depleted Giant team. Dallas is clearly one of the best teams. Arizona and Tampa. Tampa, Arizona, the Rams, and the Cowboys are the top tier teams in the NFC. And then I got to see more out of Green Bay. The top tier teams in the AFC are Buffalo and the Chargers. All right, now we're going to do some Major League Baseball postseason talk. A lot of times we talk about analytics and chase rate and OPS and batting average and the batting average that the pitcher has against a particular hitter. But a lot of times it just comes down to making plays. When it really matters, what do you do? How clutch are you? And Nick Pivetta of the Boston Red Sox was as clutch as you get in a game that was back and forth, went to extra innings, 4-4. He pitches 4 innings and strikes out 7 batters. And then the Rays are like they're about to win. This is the series right here. The whole series ended when this happened. Killmeyer hits a ground rule double, and Yandy Diaz was scoring. The ball goes off the wall onto the chest of the Boston Red Sox right fielder, goes in the stands. And they're probably going to change that rule. When a ball hits a player, it goes to the stands, allows a runner to score, but it's like a ground rule double. Nobody scores. And I knew that Mike Zunino was going to strike out. It's just one of those situations that I knew the Red Sox were going to come back and win the game. And Christian Velasquez was the hero of the game, hitting a 2-run homer. And then now to Tampa's credit, because the Red Sox jumped on 5-0. I said they got them. They're sunk. Yesterday it was a devastating loss. Now they're going to finish them. They come all the way back to tie the score, but then the Red Sox relievers got the strikeouts they needed and did what they had to do to get the ball into the 9th inning. And Velasquez started, again, the hero, got the single. Kike Hernandez, who's just tearing it up for the Red Sox, gets the sacrifice fly, and they're on to the next round, where they will play the winner of the Astros and White Sox. And the Astros and White Sox it's going to be a little more testier. White Sox beat up the Astros 12-6 because the Astros beat them up the first 2 games. And they were all over Zach Greinke in this game. I mean, the starters, Zach Greinke and Garcia was really hit hard. Greinke got hit hard. And they ended up, and Rowley gave up 5 runs. But the White Sox got back going. The crowd was great. I'm a Cubs fan, but I never really thought that the White Sox crowd, they were good, but that crowd was electric. They got after that. They influenced that game a little bit. And then there's the extra shenanigans after the game, which was interesting because Ryan Tepera accused the Astros again of cheating. Here's how I feel about the Astros. I don't think much of what they did, and I lost a ton of respect for that organization. But I would find it very difficult that they would try again and cheat with all the eyes of all the sports world on him. And Dusty Baker, he's a good man. I can't see Dusty Baker coming in there and allowing that nonsense. That's why Baker was so mad. I don't believe that. I just believe that both teams play very well at home. Now, if anything comes out, I'm going to really get after the Astros. They need to be banned from the postseason the following year if they pull this stunt. But I'm not going to make any accusations. Let's see the evidence that comes out. But today's game is going to be testy. There's going to be some bad feelings the rest of this series. You may see a bench clearing incident. Players don't want to get suspended in the postseason, but this is just, and then La Russa and Baker, They don't get along. They fake like they get along. Just there's an undercurrent of testiness in that series, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. The Giants beat the Dodgers 1-0 yesterday. That game had a candlestick feel to it. The wind was blowing. I've never seen that Dodgers team where the wind is blowing all over the place. The wind is blowing in from left field. So balls get blown in. So if you hit a ball a mile, it's still not going to go out. That had a giant feel to it. And the Giants won. Dodgers hit about 3 or 4 balls that were going to be out normally in Dodger Stadium. Taylor, Pollock. Then Mookie Betts hits a line drive to Crawford, leaps up, probably never jumped that high in his life to catch it. And then Evan Longoria, who's kind of on the downside, hits a home run. And Scherzer pitched a great game. Hill pitched a great game. Both pitchers were great, but the Giants just had the one run they needed. I mean, Scherzer was great. 7 innings, 10 strikeouts. And he deserved to get the win, but it was just meant for the Giants to win when you see balls that are going out. And then the last out of the game, that's a home run. Lux flies out to center. That's a home run. He hit it hard. He celebrated. And the ball just went out, and then it came back in, and that was game. And the Giants win. And you will know it was meant for the Giants to win that game if they play tonight and the weather's normal and it's back to Dodger Stadium weather and the Dodgers somehow win that game and they play like they normally play and they win and send it back to Frisco. You knew that game 3 was meant for the Giants to win. Out of nowhere, I've never seen that in Giants Stadium where the wind current was like that. And it worked to the Giants' favor. So if the Dodgers are the Giants just they're playing house Monday. If they don't win tonight, they got Webb going in Frisco. So they're feeling, okay, we're going to win the series regardless. Let's get ready and start scouting. I mean, they're not going to be that cocky, but they have to think that they're in full control of the series. For the Dodgers, if you want to win a championship, you got to do it the hard way. You got to somehow win tonight and then get it back to Frisco and then try. And Walker Buehler can't make any mistakes. You got to keep Buster Posey in the ballpark and somehow deal with Webb and those exploding sliders that he's pounding the zone in. I've seen sliders, but that was just nasty. And now you got to deal with that going to their place if you get through tonight's game. If you win this title, which is just going to be a little rough, you will have earned it. Max Muncy's loss is big because that's your contact hitter. You lose a contact hitter in your lineup, you can get struck out a lot. And the Giants the Dodgers, that's what happened to them. They lost their best. Like the Giants lost Belt, but the Dodgers losing Muncy. Muncy is a giant killer. And him being out of the lineup, they needed him. But we'll see. I'm hoping it goes 5 because they're the 2 best teams in the National League and they need to go the full 5 to see who's the best. As far as the Braves and Brewers, the Braves are just pitching. The Braves are pitching as good as you can get. Ian Anderson, 5 innings pitched, strikeout. 6 strikeouts. Their reliever shuts out the Brewers. And Jock Peterson, Mr. October Jr. hits a 3-run homer. And kind of look at the Braves pitching. Max Fried pitches 6 innings and 9 Ks. So the Braves are pitching like the Giants are pitching good, but they're one pitcher imploded. Braves pitchers haven't imploded. The Braves have pitched the best out of every team in the postseason. And that's a good recipe to get you to the World Series. I don't know if the Braves are going to get to the World Series, but they're fueled by the pain of last year. And the fact that Josh Peterson could make up a little for their loss of Osuna, but I'm curious to see what the Braves, I believe the Braves are going to beat the Brewers, how they match up against the Giants or the Dodgers, because they are, I know that loss, blowing 3-1 leads to the Giants fuels them. And teams that get their heart broken, come back hungrier, usually the teams that get to the World Series. So I'm going to see if that bodes true. Hey, this is the college football report for Teletruth Radio. Let me tell you the truth about college football this weekend. There was Texas suffered the roughest loss of the of the week. There were some tough losses. Penn State suffered a loss because that quarterback got hurt, and Iowa's in good shape. And Alabama had a big loss, but Alabama's still in it. But let's get to the elephant. I hate to, for lack of a better word for Alabama fans, the elephant in the room, the Alabama game. Alabama, and I made this prediction. I said Alabama's going to win unless Texas A&M plays way over their head. Texas A&M played way over their head. Their Calzada played way over his head. And they had a 2-touchdown lead on Alabama. So now Alabama's down 2 scores and going nowhere, down 24-10, going nowhere. But then Alabama blocks a punt. They go up 24-17. This is how you know this is Texas A&M's day where they're out of their mind. Devon Achane returns the ball 96 yards for a touchdown. Now they're up 2 more scores. That's usually a death knell, but Alabama, Bryce Young is big time, man. He threw for 3 TDs, this one to Williams, and they had drops. Alabama would have had been a little closer to Texas A&M, but they had some big drops, and the biggest came late. And then in the fourth quarter, they got a couple of field goals. They got within 1 now. They got 13 points off the lead. It's a 1-point game. They get a stop on Texas A&M in the fourth quarter. Here comes Bama. This is their typical Bama drive. Bryce Young, 7-yard pass to Jameis Williamson, and nobody's covering them. It was a really blown coverage. Oh, they got him now. Okay, their defense has been putrid all game long. 1 stop and you win. They couldn't even do that against Calzada, who just chunk yards, 17-yard pass, 7-yard pass, 12-yard pass, and then a 25-yard touchdown to Aeneas Smith, who had a big game. And they come back and they get the extra point. It's a tie game. Alabama, Bryce Young throws the ball down the middle. I believe Williams drops the ball on 2nd down. It was a 1st down, and Alabama would have been in business. At the very least, they could have ran the clock out, even if he misses the kick. But he drops the ball, and they got to punt back to Texas A&M. And Alabama's defense has been horrible with 2:17 left. And I said Texas A&M going to win this game. When he dropped the ball, I knew they're going to win the game. I said Alabama doesn't deserve to win this game. And Texas A&M went right down the field and kicked the game-winning field goal. Nice, easy drive where they could take up clock. Just perfect. And Texas A&M ends up upsetting Alabama. What does that mean? Alabama's number 5, so they're still in it if they run the table. The problem is Alabama's defense does not travel because they're very young. And people are like, Alabama lost. Alabama's young. Get them now. Better get them this year because all those kids, including their quarterbacks, coming back next year. The running back and the receivers, so they're all kids. And Nick Saban, to his credit, has done a terrific job with these guys. But their defense, because they're young, they don't travel. They didn't travel against Florida. Florida played out of their mind. You've seen the Florida quarterback. He's done nothing since. And my concern with Texas A&M is, with all the bluster and the talk, you win against Alabama. Do you shut it down now? Is this your Super Bowl where you end up losing at LSU or underachieving? I got a feeling that could happen. I just think it's an underachieving. They have talent, but they're an underachieving bunch. They lost to Mississippi State. They shouldn't have lost at home. This is an underachieving bunch, and I don't see it changing. I think they're going to continue. They're going to lose somewhere. They're going to underachieve, and this will be their Super Bowl. They'll celebrate for a month. But they'll get picked off somewhere along the line. But I think it's going to be LSU. And LSU like to quit. But I got a feeling they'll get up for that last game against A&M. And but that's the key for that. But Alabama's still in it. But this does help Cincinnati. So if Alabama could have trouble with Arkansas because their defense don't travel, and Arkansas it was the third best game of the week was this game, Alabama and Texas A&M. The second best was Arkansas and Mississippi. And Alabama's going to have a hard time with KJ Jefferson. He had 326 yards, 3 TDs, and it wasn't enough because Mississippi, Corral had a Heisman game, 287, 2 TDs. He was amazing. I mean, amazing. And he rushed for 94 yards. Parrish Jr. had 111 yards rushing. Snoop Connor ran hard for 3 TDs. And then Arkansas couldn't get the 2-point conversion. I love what Arkansas did. They scored. They could have tied the game. I love what Pittman did. Go for 2 because you couldn't stop Mississippi. When it goes overtime and they've been back and forth. Listen, go for 2. We're at the 2-yard line. We're moving well. We'll go for the win. I didn't like the play call. I liked the idea. But I did something with KJ scramble, but they lost. That was the second best game. The best game of the day is Oklahoma and Texas. Man, that was a great game. Oh, my goodness. And Texas is up 28-7 at the half. They're in control. I'm talking about in control of this game. 38-23. 38-20. They're up. And then Oklahoma gets a field goal. Then Caleb Williams comes in the game and plays gate because their starting quarterback didn't do well. And Caleb Williams throws Marvin Mims, touchdown, 41-30. Okay, and that's why I'm like, is it a third quarter? I said, okay, they got a chance to win this game. I was like, oh, man. That's going to be very, very interesting. And they came back all the way when they scored again. And it was 41-33 on a field goal. And then they scored again. Caleb Williams, after Spencer Rattler came back in, they scored a touchdown. 52-yard pass on Marvin Mims. I'm going to tell you something. This was the catch, one of the best catches of the year. He turns around. It's a 52-yard bomb. It's in the corner of the right end zone. One hand, I believe, 1 foot in bounds. And he was able to catch it with the defender draped over him. It was a great throw. It was a great catch. Crowd was going crazy. That's an electric atmosphere. I realized something. With the announcers, they did a great job. The crowd was electric on both sides, and they ended up coming back and tying the game because Rattler had enough in him after playing so bad, getting replaced by Williams to make the 2-point conversion. And then a fumble by Texas, and Oklahoma gets it, scores. And then Texas comes back, had the mental toughness to come back with Casey Thompson passing the ball to Xavier Worthy, who was terrific in this game. All right, they score 1:23 left. All right, let's hold them to if you're Texas, let's hold them to a field goal attempt. Because I don't always trust kickers in these spots. College kickers I don't trust. So let's, at the very worst, hold them with 1:23 left. Oklahoma's driving, all right. But my gosh, they gave up a 33-yard touchdown run with 10 seconds left to Kenny Brooks. They don't even pass the ball in the end zone. There's 10 seconds left, and they run the ball in the end zone. And they ended up winning the game 55-48. What a terrible, terrible loss by Texas. And Caleb Williams, 15-24, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. He balled out. And he rushed. And he rushed really good, too, because he had 88 yards rushing, a 66-yard run, which was electrifying. And Kenny Brooks was the star. Kenny Brooks was the star, 217 yards rushing. Now, Bijan Robinson, I said on my show, was the best player on the field. He had 137 yards rushing. But he wasn't Candy Brooks at 217, and Candy Brooks had the big touchdown run, and he had 65-yard run. It was just a great game. Texas has 2 losses now. Oklahoma's in good shape. If you're Cincinnati, you got to root against Oklahoma, or you got to root for Texas to run the table, knock off all these undefeated teams, knock off Oklahoma State this week, and then turn around and beat Oklahoma. I believe they still have the Big 12 championship, and that's their only hope. Because if Oklahoma runs the table, Oklahoma State Big 12 is going to get in. You're going to have SEC, you're going to have the Big 10 champion get in. And man, it could be Iowa, because Penn State lost Clifford, and Penn State was controlling that game all the way until Clifford got hurt, and then Iowa took over. They had a 13-3 second half over Penn State because the backup quarterback, Tyquan Robinson wasn't a thrower. He's more of a runner. He was 7-21, and he couldn't get the job done. And Iowa's defense is smart. They're good, but they're smart. And they play as good a team defense as you're going to get. And that gives Iowa a chance to be relevant when it comes to maybe seeing Ohio State or Michigan, or I don't know if Penn State. It depends on how long Clifford's out. It's one of those guys, that group playing Iowa. I think Iowa gets in. Don't slip on Michigan State. So one of those Big Ten teams will be in the playoffs for sure, regardless of how many, if they have a loss or two, because of the strength of schedule and how competitive that conference is. But what Alabama's loss takes, I think it takes them out of the running if they go all the way to the SEC championship game and play Georgia. Now they got to get past Arkansas. I mean, that's going to be tough going to Arkansas. But if their defense is tough enough by the end of the year to figure it out and play better on the road, and then get past Auburn on the road, and they play Georgia, they got to beat Georgia now. Now, that doesn't bode well. If they lose, they're gone. Then Cincinnati will probably get in. But if they win, then Georgia will probably get in if Georgia runs the table. I believe they're going to get past a hot Kentucky team. And Georgia's resume will be tight. So they would have beaten Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, and then they lose Alabama. They'll be the 4 seed. Alabama will be I don't know if they'll be there, but they might, because if it's their only loss, a close loss to A&M, it depends on what A&M does the rest of the year. Big Ten team number 1, Alabama number 2. Depends on who's number 1. Alabama could be number 1. If Oklahoma runs the table, Oklahoma could be number 1 if Georgia lost. But Georgia might not lose. Georgia has more experience, and Bennett is playing better. I wanted to see that. I wasn't sure about their offense, but Zeus is running well, and Bennett's passing the ball well. And that's all they need. Their tight ends are amazing. They don't have the awe-inspiring receivers, but they have great tight ends, and they run the ball. They're physical, and their defense. You go watch Georgia versus Kentucky, and you'll see about their defense. All right, let me tell you the actual truth about the heavyweight title fight between Wilder and Fury, Tyson Fury in the 11th round knockout. It was a battle between a fat overweight guy versus a athletic, not great punching, non-skilled, not boxing skilled guy. God bless Malik Scott, because I thought he would be able to get him to reverse whatever he had. It was hard to on the fly. The fight started with Wilder using the tactics that Malik Scott showed him. He was jabbing to the body. He was setting his shots up early, and it kind of surprised Fury. But then when Wilder started to throw wild, Fury could counter. Fury said, okay, I'm going to sit back and counter. And this is what I didn't calculate, and I should have. I've covered boxing too many years, 20 years, since 2000. And I should have realized this. The fact that the punishment that Wilder took in the Ortiz fight, he never recovered. So every time he gets hit, he gets shook. And Ortiz had him in the second, had him in the first fight. He got caught. Had him in the second fight, and he got knocked out. He was bleeding. He was going to have an easy unanimous decision, and he got knocked out. And Wilder and Fury fought a cutesy first fight, and he got knocked down twice. So he said, "Listen, I gotta come in here with a little more power and take more chances." And he did. And what Fury did, he came in overweight, and he could have had an earlier knockout when he knocked Wilder down, but he's not in shape. So he had to just hold on. Wilder's holding on because he's hurt. Fury's holding on because he's tired. So it was a sloppy fight. It was a great fight because they both tried. They both went for it. So that's what made the fight great. It wasn't all time. Don't listen to the nonsense you're going to hear on TV. This is not Ali and too skilled Ali and Frazier, Thrill, and Manila. Those are skilled fighters. And Fury's skilled, but he was completely overweight. His weight will take away his all-time greatness. Just trust me if he continues to do that, because he's always had little weight issues, but not talent issues. But what Fury did, which was smart, he shortened his punches and he threw counter lefts when Wilder got wild, and Wilder telegraphed to right. Because if I'm sitting from the TV screen knowing that he's about to throw a right, what do you think Tyson Fury thinks? Because when I saw him loading up, I said, "Here comes the right," and he missed. I said, "Okay, here comes the left," and he missed. And Fury, as big as he is, he's agile still, even though he was way out of shape. So he just countered. He popped him with the short, hard punches that shouldn't have did that much damage, but because Wilder's chin is just a mess because of the Ortiz fight, every time he threw a punch, it looked like Wilder was ready to go. And he didn't go. Wilder tried. And Wilder caught him twice and put him down. Even when he put him down, I said, if Fury gets up, he'll continue to get up and keep doing what he's going to do and win the fight. I didn't have any inkling of thought that. I thought Wilder would box better and win. That's why I picked him. But when I saw that he didn't, and it's just muscle memory, it's hard to remember what you learn when you've learned a certain way for all these years. Now you're trying to learn something on the fly. God bless Malik Scott. Like I said, he tried. But Fury's team, they do the same thing. They just said, "Listen, we'll just stay patient. We'll wait for him to throw a wild shot. We'll duck. We'll get out of the way. We'll counter." And every time he countered, Wilder really didn't take it well. So Fury knew, I'll just do this all night. And Fury had him hurt a lot of times, but Fury, because he was so out of shape, couldn't really finish him. So they both were hugging each other a lot of times during the fight. It wasn't that Fury wasn't doing the hugging. Wilder was too, because Wilder was hurt every time. Every punch hurt him. Now, Fury has good power for him, but he's a big guy. He doesn't have Lewis power, Riddick Bowe power, or Holmes, or that type, but he's got good power because he's accurate for a big guy. And he used what he used. He just said, "Okay, I'll just throw the short." It was short rights and short lefts. And then finally, after Wilder's just about done, finally, because Fury could have got him out in the fourth round, but Fury was not in shape. So now this fight has to go on to the 11th. They finally got him out of there because now Wilder has nothing left. And Wilder tried. He tried. He just doesn't have that skill. And I think Wilder should retire because of the fact that the way he takes punches now, not because, he could continue to beat guys even where the skill level's like because of power, but he doesn't take any shot well. He didn't take any Ortiz's shots well. And he definitely didn't. He didn't take any of you. Every time Fury threw a shot, I said, "This fight's over." I kept saying that, okay, this fight's going to be over from round 4 to round 11, but Fury was out of shape. And now let's stop with the nonsense about all-time great, because I don't know where Fury goes from here, because you only have 2 really good skilled fighters in the heavyweight division. That's Usyk and Fury. They box. Anthony Joshua's a slugger, big muscular slugger, and Usyk took advantage of that, and Tyson Fury would have did that too. But everyone else in the heavyweights, they're sluggers. You don't have boxers, so Fury can take advantage of that. I would like to see Fury run into a skilled boxer. He doesn't have a Lennox Lewis or a Holyfield or a Tyson or Riddick Bowe that he has to measure up his skills against. So we can't call him all-time great because he beat a great knockout artist, but an Ernie Shavers type of a fighter. And that fight reminded me of Ernie Shavers and Holmes. Ernie Shavers blew Holmes away with a right hand. Holmes got up just like Fury did and finished him off because he's a better boxer. And it went like that. And that's who Wilder is. Not all-time great, but a great knockout artist, but then he doesn't have the other intangibles. So I just think somebody, you know what's going to happen? And I'm just going to tell you the truth. And nobody will tell you this. I think somebody lesser with better boxing skills end up beating Fury if Fury continues to just not be in shape and just say, listen, I'm so good a boxer, I don't even need to be in shape. Because remember, he had bad weight issues after the Klitschko fight. He's contemplating retirement, and he came back and got in really great shape. The first Fury fight, the first Wilder and the second Wilder fight. But this one he wasn't, and it would have been a lot more easier fight. And he was huffing and puffing round 9 and 10. He's very fortunate that Wilder didn't sit and set any of his punches up and not try to throw the wild right and not try to throw the wild left. And he did, and he paid for it. But that's my boxing commentary. It was a great fight because both guys went for it. Fury lacked the conditioning to get him out earlier. He had the skill. Wilder lacked the skill. He had the conditioning, but he lacked the skill and the chin. And now Fury's been down, about 6 times in his career. He was down 4 times against Wilder. I just think somebody's going to come along and get him. He's going to come in overconfident, and they're going to end up clipping him. Some upset. Just sit back and watch, because this is the state of heavyweight division. It's not Tyson and Lennox Lewis and all those all-time greats. You have a really good, talented, skilled, tall fighter in Fury, and a cruiserweight who's really talented as far as boxing, Usyk. And Dylan White is sloppy, but is a good boxer puncher. That's the only guy I think would give Fury trouble because of he could set his punches up, but he can be a little sloppy too. I think Joshua's done. I think Wilder should retire because of his chin. I don't want to. He's a good guy. I don't want to see the guy get hurt.